Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you and an honor to be a part of your panel, Doug. My name is Amy Odell. I'm founder and CEO of an organization called the Jacob's Ladder Group. We're located in Atlanta, Georgia. We serve vulnerable children primarily of an autism diagnosis, but also complex mental health disorders and kids with brain injury, stroke, rehabilitation, and things such as that. We're passionate about the work, which I think is in complete alignment with your goals, Doug, with Make America's Children Healthy Again, which is to consider what's actually needed to create a transformative outcome for children who need help the most. We believe firmly that a holistic approach that covers and understands and gets to the root causes of mind, body, and soul for challenged individuals is integral to having a successful outcome. So we've built a platform, actually a software solution based on 30 years of work. The most important thing is the 30 years of work, the outcomes, and the model that's necessary to truly transform lives. The platform just represents how you take that information and scale it globally to help kids wherever they are. So again, the heart of the model is understanding the heart of a child. It's to know and examine what we're doing as a nation well, but what we're not doing well that's affecting the minds of our children. And the spirit of our children, we've removed in great part the great creator God, and they do not have the spiritual nourishment that they need desperately. And so we believe that if you take all of those things into account and treat each individual child as the unique human being that they are and develop a plan that supports them, that you will have truly transformative outcomes, whether it's one of the children with autism, 1 in 31 children will have a diagnosis of autism, or complex mental health disorders, or over 20% of our nation's youth at this point. And that statistic is around debilitating mental health issues. So we believe there's a solution. We believe all children deserve that solution, and we want to be a part of the solution and delivering that to all the kids who desperately need it. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you some things that are just super near and dear to my heart and tell you about our hopes for the future. AHAVA is a digital platform that we built that, anytime I refer to AHAVA in the few moments that I'm going to speak to you, I want you to connect it back to some of the most neurobiologically vulnerable children on the planet. As you have heard, President Trump and Secretary Kennedy have talked a lot about autism being a priority for the administration. And the reality is that you probably know the statistics, but 1 in 31 children will be diagnosed with autism. The fact is 1 in 20 males will be diagnosed with autism, and if you live in the state of California, the male prevalence is 1 in 12.5. So the numbers are staggering, and they're getting more significant really by the day. The other piece that matters a whole lot to me and to the work that we've been doing for a very long time are kids, teenagers, young adults with complex mental health disorders. And you don't have to look too far or wonder too long about how we're doing as a nation in addressing the mental health crisis. And the pandemic only made that more significant. You can look at studies that have been done that have documented the difficulties that we laid upon already present difficulties for super vulnerable kids. And so what we love to say at the Jacob's Ladder Group is that we're grounded in science and guided by love. And one of the reasons we're guided by love is really how the Jacob's Ladder Group started. You've heard many other people share today that they started their business based on a family situation, a personal situation. And I think the truth is necessity really can be the mother of invention. Because if you need a solution and there's not one, you can either do your best to create one, or you can be caught in the hamster wheel of non-solution and continue to struggle. And so my story goes back about 30 years. And the reason I make this statement about the ability of the human body, mind and soul to move toward healing is because I believe it's true. My son had a very complex diagnosis. He was cortically visually impaired. I was told that he would lose complete vision. He would never actually learn or be have any cognitive abilities in school. And you just take an attribute like vision and you break it down, and the problem wasn't really the eye. The problem was how the brain was processing information. The cognitive challenges weren't really about IQ, it was how the brain was processing information. And so you fast forward 32 years and my son is fully visual, one of the smartest people I know. He's a teacher and enjoys driving. And so when I know that those things are possible for him, it was really the impetus to see what's possible for other kids. And so now that we're 30 years into the journey, all that I learned from working with him, but also all the 6,000 or more kids that have come my way in the last 30 years, and really we've reached kids all over the globe. The model of care that we've developed is called the Interpersonal Whole Brain Model of Care, patent pending. And we believe it is so powerful because, not only because we've personally experienced the transformations of people, that's infants, children, teens, young adults, but we have been dedicated to rigorous data collection and analyzation. So we don't have to guess if what our eyes and our experience is showing us is accurate. We actually just go through copious amounts of data. And the data has shown us that, yes, in fact, all of our experiences have held true. The IWBMC is an effective model, it's an efficient model, it is an affordable model, and it's all now widely available because we have built the digital platform called AHABA. Our impact so far, so it's interesting, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, but we've raised and invested about $4.5 million in the creation of this platform thus far. And it can be translated in any language. It is AI enhanced, and I'll explain some of the ways that that holds true. We also did some rigorous work and accomplished national accreditation. So when you think about the Jacobs Ladder Group, you think about the IWBMC, which is the model of care. I want you to envision it's both an educational platform. So it applies to the struggling kids in school systems all across our nation, and we're really doing nothing to change that. Nothing successful thus far that's showing concrete outcomes. And so we went through a national accreditation process so that our educational model would be accredited, but also our therapeutic model. We received NCCA accreditation for the therapeutic side. We received ACAP accreditation for the training modules, which opens the door to wide use within the public school system, clinics, potentially hospital work for the growing crisis. So you don't have to look far to know what the crisis is. Again, it's 1 in 31 children with autism diagnosis, but actually 1 in 20 if it's males. And I think that's a really significant thing for us not to forget. That's a 300+ increase in autism just since 2000. Over 20% of our youth have a diagnosis that's categorized as a debilitating mental health diagnosis. I can tell you in our work at the Jacobs Ladder Group, we are in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a 17-acre campus there in the suburbs of Atlanta, and we really serve the most vulnerable of the vulnerable populations. It's the kids who have no other place to go very often, yet our outcomes are highly successful in comparison to other outcomes, but just in terms of what would the goal set be, what would the highest standard be that you would hope to achieve with these kids who are super vulnerable. And we are achieving them. We're having great success in that regard. This problem is a $7 trillion problem. By 2029, that's the estimated cost of autism alone. It doesn't account for all the mental health, the complex mental health disorders that are going on. There are not enough resources, there are not enough treatment modalities to address all the kids that need it. And I can tell you, until you go to the root of autism and understand the cause and the impact from a whole child perspective, you will not transform that life. It is just imperative to do a deeper dive. The opportunity in a global market is over $300 billion. We believe that we're positioned for 142 billion of that market because we have a product that is a full source solution. It is a comprehensive integrated model, and the digital aspects with the AI enhancement allow us to scale without creating an increased labor force. The AHAVA platform, again, AI enhanced, and I would just love to use this perhaps as an example to give you a little bit more concrete information to anchor it to. You know, one of the things, again, that's plagued our nation is school violence. And I've always been just confounded when we have yet another episode of school violence. And we as a nation listen to the news or contribute to the news, and we talk about how horrific it is, and we argue about guns and such. But what we actually don't do is talk about why this is happening, what the root cause is, and what in the world we should do about it. And if we do discuss it, it's for 2 or 3 days, and then we drop the topic until it happens again. And so what I've noticed in the work that I've done personally and our team has done is that when a student is referred to the Jacob's Ladder Group and attends services of our campus, we're a full-time accredited school, but we're a therapeutic facility. And so let's say, because this happens daily, that a very difficult student has been referred to our facility, and that student is showing aggressive behaviors, has made threatening comments, or has made death threats at the school. It's happening across our nation more than you would want to believe. And so what typically happens is they are expelled or removed from school, and then guess what happens? They go to their parents' home and they sit in their parents' basement or sit on the sofa, and they have no idea what to do with their life, and the situation gets worse. And so when these students come to us, even though, yes, we're an accredited school, we don't focus on what their math lessons should look like or if their reading comprehension is what it needs to be. We focus on what in the world got us to this point in a conversation that this 15-year-old young man would be threatening to kill other people at school. Because if you take the time to ask that question and peel back the proverbial onion of human behavior and circumstance, then you will come to understand why that happened. And then again, it doesn't matter what his math scores are. It doesn't matter how much biology he knows. What matters is, what are the root causes of this behavior? What are we going to do about it next? And what are the individual components that led him to this situation? And so what AHAVA does, it takes 30 years of analytics. So we use the term AI enhanced because the logic has been built. You meet the human being, so we meet the young man who has mental health challenges. We go through an assessment that contains over 1,400 metrics that address the whole person, not just his anger or his resentment or his aggression, but who is he as a whole person, his emotional center, his family and social structure, his physiological aspects, which include how he sleeps, how he eats, what he's been fed, does he ever get outside, is he addicted to his iPhone and he's looking at violent material. I mean, all those things matter. And there's a way to assess that, synthesize it, And then what comes next is you develop an individualized plan, and you execute on that plan, and you collect data daily to see if what you're doing is making a difference. And if it's not, then by goodness, you change what you're doing and you do something that works. We have created a training platform. So within AHAVA, not only is the assessment tool there, the logic has been built in so that you take the metrics, it analyzes them, they're predictive, and they are also prioritized. So out of 1,400 metrics, if you're just envision a 5-year-old child with autism, envision a 15-year-old young man who was removed from school for violent context. Either way, such different people, but their solution can be very similar in terms of how you evaluate, how you understand the whole person, how you program, how you collect data, how you report on data, so that you know that you're changing lives. And AHAVA has that. AHAVA has over 4,000 training videos. We've spent years in filming these. We were also a little bored in COVID, not very bored because we only closed for like 4 days. But we started filming videos back during COVID, and we have created a library of over 4,000, all with written tutorials that all live within AHAVA. Copious amounts of data analyzation, AI enhanced again, so that you could have a chat feature that allows you in real time to collect quantitative and qualitative information that again informs the greater conversation. So if Secretary Kennedy he is so interested in the root causes of autism, as he should be and as we all should be, I would tell you that we're in an interesting position of strength, if I can say so myself, in that in 30 years of hard work, we have always been looking at root causes. We have always been looking at labs. We've always been looking at inflammatory markers, gut-brain dysbiosis, vagal nerve response, assaults environmentally that have caused high levels of toxicity within the body. We are sitting on 30 years of information that could be incredibly valuable to the larger conversation. Our goal is to take that information and use it at the highest and the best to affect the most lives we possibly can, to create optimum results and outcomes for the kids and the families that need it the most. Predictive analytics, I was just saying this is just a sample, so there's probably, when I say 1,400 metrics, each metric has a different data analytic. The predictive analysis has changed our world, and it also makes it so much easier for people in the future to learn how to use the model. This slide is about, again, the complexity of the one human being. So you've met one person, Everyone has their own unique neurobiological thumbprint. You have to understand theirs if you're going to transform their lives. It is truly person-centered patient care or student care. That's how you create change. That's how you create transformation. We use QEEG analysis, again, back to the data. If you want to change the function in someone's life, their day-to-day ability to learn, maneuver, self-regulate, create relationships, be productive in society, live independently one day, you can't just train on a skill set level. It's the wrong approach. It is just the wrong approach. What you do instead, if you want to change function, you first understand and change the brain. Because our function is a result of how the waveforms in the brain are operating, where the connectivity patterns are, where there's too much power, where there's not enough power, and the brain changes based on how we're spending the moments in the day. It's always changing, it's always rewiring. But that can be a great thing or it can be a terrible thing, because kids are rewiring their brains because they're addicted to technology, frankly. Like they get into the dopamine cycle, and that's very hard to break. And so we believe first understand the nuances neurologically for every person that you serve, and then again tailor the treatment approach, and then you recheck these cues, and then there's, again, massive data. You look at specific mental health disorders, anxiety versus depression versus bipolar versus oppositional defiant disorder. And then you look at the gradient on the spectrum of autism, and then the maps show you patterns within each one of those diagnostic categories. Streamlined operational process, again, AI enhanced. So what would take us 40 hours to create for one person can be done in an hour. So it's changed our universe and the way that we serve kids, but it's also made it much easier for us to train and teach other people, because everything that's needed lives within the Ahava SaaS platform. Data collection and synthesis. Another thing that I've seen in the field that I think is a travesty is that there's a lot of intervention that may happen, but no data collected. And so when it's time to report to third-party payers about the effectiveness of the work that they have covered and paid for, there's no clear way to show the evidence of what's been accomplished, and I think that should be very different. And so we created the data and analytics that live within the platform, and anyone who's been given access, approval, and clearance to access a client portal, a student portal, can log in to see day by day what's shifting and changing based on every intervention and at every outcome and goal set that's been set. And so from a third-party payment perspective, I think that should matter a lot. I think it's critical that you can show that what you've been given money to achieve, that you're delivering on the promise. And this is how we know we can ensure that. Again, we have courses for educators, for parents, for evaluators, and for teachers. And these hold a national certification. So people can go through the courses, take an examination, and they are then nationally certified in the model. And we, again, a lot of hard work to achieve that, but we felt like it was important for us to do so, to level the playing field a little bit, so that we could get into some of these areas where kids are underserved and need to be served, but there are political barriers in the way. We created a shared professional portal, and it's come up a couple of times today, and it's, to me, insane that you have vulnerable populations that up to 10 providers would have their hand touching that client, but no one knows what anyone else is doing. And I think when you're especially talking about super vulnerable children that have medical complexities, psychological complexities, learning complexities, family complexities, that it is just critical for people to have shared information. As we collect data, it became very important to us to have a medication tracking mechanism. So we serve a lot of kids. They're on a lot of medications, a lot of different medications. Some are psychotropic medications. And we can be delivering the work. A psychiatrist may remove or add medications to the mixture, which greatly changes and shifts behavior, and which affects our data. And I think unless that's accounted for, then I'm not sure whose data we should trust, because all the information needs to be in one place to really get a true picture. What matters to us is transforming the future of care. That's what matters to us for the most vulnerable children. We look at the IWBMC as a different way. It's a new way. It's an integrated way. Again, cost effective. It can be scaled easily, and because it can be scaled easily because it's powered by Ahava. Ahava houses everything. Once again, that would be needed. What are we seeking? As I said, we've already invested about $4 million, and we're utilizing the platform as we speak, and we're utilizing it in different countries. But what matters the most to us is that we scale to the highest level possible and affect the most kids and families possible. And that will take additional capital, it will take additional collaborations, allies, legislatively speaking. So we're looking at just strategic partners and allies to help us move this to the next level. We could keep trucking along with the product we've made, but the vision's much grander than that. We really believe we should be reaching kids at a much higher level and touching as many kids as possible. So I appreciate you listening. If you're interested in our work, we'd love to talk to you more about that. This is how you can contact us. And thank you. Thank you so much for your attention.